Seated. Welcome to this meeting of the Council. Please note that this meeting has been live streamed. Therefore, if you are participating in this or the subsequent meeting, you are consenting to being recorded and to the use of those recordings for broadcasting. If you have any queries regarding this, please speak to a council officer. There are no fire drills scheduled this evening. If the fire alarm sounds, please leave the building immediately by the nearest available fire exit. If you're unable to use the stairs, a member of staff will assist you. The meeting will reconvene if it is safe to do so, otherwise it will stand adjourned. First aid trained security officers are available within the room and outside should you need any assistance. Members, when you are speaking, the traffic light system here and time on the screens will indicate when you have 1 minute remaining. Your microphones will be operated for you within the chamber. If anyone is attending online, please operate your own microphone. Award recipients for Merson Heroes, a microphone will be handed to you later on. Members, if you wish to raise a point of order at any time this evening, please indicate to me that you wish to speak, and when called, please stand and advise me of it. Please be reminded that a point of order can only relate to an alleged breach of the Council Rules of Procedure in the Constitution or of the law. When you raise your point of order, you must indicate the rule or law and the way in which you consider it has been broken, and I will then take advice and make a ruling on this. Please also ensure that mobile phones and laptops are on silent throughout the meeting as well. And you're also reminded that you're only allowed to drink water in the chamber, no food. Firstly, I start with some very sad news. I've heard of the passing of Councillor Charlie Lucas, who served as a councillor in Cannon Hill Ward from May 1994 to May 2002. Can I ask you all to stand now briefly to observe a moment's silence? Thank you. Are there any apologies for absence? Councillor Bim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have apologies for absence from Councillor Willscroft and Councillor Sweet.
Councillor McGrath. Councillor Holden.
Mr. Mayor, no apologies.
On to agenda item number 2, declarations of pecuniary interest. Are there any declarations of interest?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I declare a declaration of interest on item 10, Treasury Management, and I will not vote on that item if it comes to a vote.
Thank you. These have been noted. We now move to agenda item number 3 to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 19th of November 2025. We have the minutes of the ordinary and special meetings held on that date. Is there any dissent to these minutes? As there is no dissent, I shall take that as agreed. On to agenda item number 4, to receive any announcements from the Mayor, Leader and the Chief Executive. I firstly invite the Leader for your announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight is our penultimate council meeting for the local elections, so I'm sure it's going to be a lively one. But before the theatrics begin, I just wanted to take a few moments to update council on what's been going on since we last met in November. And I know that December may feel like a long time ago, but it was a busy month for this administration. At the Christmas lights switch on in Morden, I was delighted to announce that we will invest £30 million into remaking Morden Town Centre. This investment sends a clear signal that we're ready to move forward with our ambitious plans to create a thriving new neighbourhood. We are now working to secure a private sector development partner to help deliver a town centre that works better for everyone. Morden also saw another important milestone in December when I attended the groundbreaking at Farm Road with Councillor Judge and Deputy Mayor for housing. These will be the first council homes built by Merton in a generation and a vital part of our efforts to tackle the local housing crisis. Everyone deserves a decent place to live, and this administration is committed to making that a reality for residents across the borough. And then just before Christmas, we got the present we'd all been hoping for when the Mayor of London confirmed that both Mitcham and Wimbledon police stations had been saved. This helped keep Merton one of the safest boroughs in London and ensures officers can spend their time tackling crime in our communities rather than travelling across the borough. Something I'm in no doubt will be welcome news for all members in the chamber today. But whilst one key service our resident relies on has been saved, another could be at risk. And I want to put on record here that this administration does not agree with the views of the senior Liberal Democrat councillor who called the Freedom Pass an expensive burden. We will do everything in our power to block any restrictions to the Freedom Pass and protect this vital service that is a lifeline for thousands of older and disabled residents across Merton. The new year has also been full of news too. Cabinet approved the independently produced playing pitch strategy, which includes a new 4-court sports hall at Morden Leisure Centre and 4 new multi-use games areas across the borough, helping more residents to get active. And at the same meeting, we approved projects for the first round of the Merton Legacy Fund, shaped by a resident-led advisory board, which residents will now get the final say through the vote which opened a couple of weeks ago. Back in January, we also got the news that former councillor Jennifer Gould had resigned her seat. And I'd like to place on record my thanks for her 6-year service of representing the people of Cannon Hill. And whilst you'll hear no complaints from me that Mitcham and Morden is once again a Lib Dem free zone, I do wish Jennifer and her family well with her new endeavours. Looking ahead, our next meeting will be a budget meeting, where we will once again put forward a balanced budget which demonstrates our careful financial management and delivers better services and better value for the people of Merton. Thanks to our continued careful management of council finances, we are delivering on our pledges we made last year. We've already delivered on our pledge to double the number of bike hangers in the borough. More than 10,000 people have used our pop-up tips since we expanded them to be 4 times a year in every neighbourhood. We're well on our way to planting 1,000 new street trees, which will make our roads look better and clean up the air that we breathe. And our Safer Streets teams are patrolling every neighbourhood every week and will soon be joined by even more officers who will be focused on tackling untidy gardens. We're only able to make improvements like these because we've been good with the council finances. I'm proud to stand on Labour's record of delivery here in Merton, and we're determined to continue working hard for this borough, fulfilling the promises we've made, improving services, getting value for money, and delivering on what matters to the people we serve.
Thank you, Leader. Now I'd like to move to my announcements. Firstly, I would like to thank everyone who attended the Holocaust Memorial Day service in the Council Chamber last week, which was a very moving service with many powerful testimonies and readings. Over Christmas and New Year, we had several events which took place. I would like to start by thanking everyone who attended my Christmas dinner at Powlek in Mitcham. It was great to see a packed restaurant and hope everyone had a good time. My Christmas carol service at St John Fisher Church in Cannon Hill Lane was a lovely event, and I'd like to thank everyone who came along, but also as well place on record my thanks to St Thomas of Canterbury Primary School in Mitcham Ursuline Secondary in Wimbledon, but also as well the support of Merton Music Foundation to make it such a lovely evening. My next big fundraising event will be my charity ball on Saturday, the 21st of March, 2026 at the All England Club in Wimbledon. I hope many of you will attend because it will help raise money for my charities, Wimbledon Guild, Merton and Morden Guild and Commonside Trust. Also as well, on New Year's Day, Merton had an entry in the London Parade, which came 6th and was themed around the borough's sport. I would like to particularly thank the Younger Generation Theatre Group, Doris Holford Dance Group for their participation, along with the support of Don's Local Action Group for providing transport and the Amadean Mosque for providing refreshments, along with all the support of Merton Council officers who supported our entry. The next part in our agenda is the Merton Heroes section, and we obviously have several tonight, and I will now go down to the front of the dais to present them. Thank you. It's thankfully working. My first Merton Heroes Award goes to Merton Rotary Club in their 90th anniversary this year. Merton Rotary have done a huge amount of work throughout the borough. Just before Christmas, you would have seen their Christmas sleigh going around Morden, which helps support 11 local charities, raising thousands of pounds. They've also as well undertaken a number of events, including the Rotary South Young Chef Competition, which was won by Luke Houston from Rains Park High School, and I was delighted to attend last Saturday. They also as well have the Rotary Young Musician Competition, which was won by Hassan Tanlia and Amani Prasenth. They've also as well been involved in a number of activities across the borough, including raising £1,000 for an afternoon tea in aid of breast cancer now, and they have also participated in a number of community events. They do great work throughout the year, and I'm delighted to invite Merton Rotary to the dais to present their award because they are true Merton heroes. Thank you. My next Merton Heroes Award goes to the Don's Local Action Group. I am delighted to present this award to Don's Local Action Group, a local network of volunteers have been working tirelessly since March 2020 at the start of the COVID pandemic in southwest London. With almost 3,000 registered volunteers, the organisation is a permanent presence across Merton, Kingston and Wandsworth. Their activities are centred around food, furniture and digital poverty. And I certainly know firsthand their work during the pandemic, especially representing Pollard's Hill, where they supported a food bank, but also as well provided laptops as well for local children. They also as well work to redistribute food and household items, along with refurbishing donated laptops for children without access to online learning through their Keep Kids Connected campaign. To achieve all this, Don's Local Action Group relies entirely on charitable donations. I think you will all agree they are true Merton heroes. So I'd like to ask the Don's Local Action Group to come to the dais to be presented with their award.
Hopefully does it. Great, great. Great. Great.
My next Merton Heroes Award goes to the Alexandra pub in Wimbledon. I think you would all agree they do absolutely fantastic work, and I would like to pay a special tribute to Mick and Sarah Dorr. I've awarded this because every year they put on a Christmas meal, a free Christmas meal where people are on their own over Christmas to allow people to share in the joy of Christmas, somewhere to come together and meet people on Christmas Day. They also do a huge amount of community work as well, and they are a truly fantastic pub, but also as well their contribution to our local community and to our borough. So I'd like to invite Mick and Sarah Dorr to the dais. My next Merton Heroes Award goes to Churches Together in Mitcham. I've given this award because of all their work on Christmas Day for nearly 20 years. They've been organising a lunch at Vestry Hall, which is open to all residents free of charge, but also as well help some of our most vulnerable community and some of our older community as well. So a place for people to share in the joy of Christmas. I know there's many volunteers who've contributed to them. Having been involved myself in it, it's an absolutely wonderful community initiative. And I'd also like to pay a special tribute as well for all their work and for all their contribution to making the event a success every year, and also as well helping so many people in the Mitcham area. So I'd like to invite Churches Together in Mitcham to the dais. My next Merton Heroes Award goes to Tom and Elizabeth McDermott. Tom and Elizabeth are community champions working very hard in the local community. They've put enormous pride in supporting their neighbours and helping the Crusoe Road Residents Association thrive. They've also made it their mission to connect both with you and long-standing residents, ensuring everyone feels included and part of a strong and caring community. So I'd like to invite Tom and Elizabeth to the dais, please. My next Merton Heroes Award goes to Valerie Shannon. Valerie is a hard-working and friendly member of the community. She has worked tirelessly and dedicated herself to supporting residents in her local area, but also ensuring that her Residents Association runs smoothly and effectively, strengthening the sense of community along the way. So I'd like to invite Valerie. My next Merton Heroes Award goes to Margaret Thorne. Margaret is a passionate champion of street cleanliness, often seen walking the streets with a plastic bag in hand, ready to collect any litter they found. Even though her mobility has declined in recent years, her determination has never wavered, and she can still be seen picking up litter quietly, setting an inspiring example of pride and care for her community. So for Margaret Thorne, please, if you'd like to come forward. My next Merton Heroes Award goes to Alan and Linda Warrener. Alan and Linda Warrener have been volunteers at the Lower Morden branch of Fish for over 10 years. They have volunteered every Monday. They collect people in need of transport to and from the club. They've also helped people with forms and paperwork. They have taken many of the attendees shopping, and on Sundays they also invite people around to their home for Sunday lunch. Always willing to help, they can go out regularly to assist people and help them. They both go with the group on holidays to assist those who need support, such as people with poor mobility, and are a huge asset to the club. They're also very keen gardeners, sharing their produce with members, bringing it in for people and helping it to themselves on Monday. So I'd like to invite Alan and Linda to the dais, please. My next citation. The next Merton Hero Award goes to Derek and Sharon Wing for all their work in fundraising for the Royal Marsden and St Raphael's Hospice by decorating the outside of the house in Christmas lights and statues and opening the garden evening to enable local people to display their display. So I'd like to invite Derek and Sharon Wing to the dais, please. Next Heroes Award. So the next That concludes the Merton Heroes Award, but there is one further award to William Deadman, a long-standing community volunteer in Mitcham, who has been great in terms of recording Mitcham's history. He's 90 years old, makes a huge contribution to the local area, but unfortunately unable to be with us tonight. So I will present that to him separately. But I think can all agree they're all Merton heroes and do an absolutely fantastic job for the borough. Thank you. We now go to, I just allowed the gallery to clear before starting the next item. We'll move on to agenda item number 5, public questions to cabinet members. The next item is the public questions. You have a list in front of you of 31 questions from members of the public. Answers have been provided by the appropriate cabinet member. Each questionnaire was invited to notify the council in advance of the meeting if they wish to ask a supplementary question. When your name is called, please come forward to the public questions desk at the rear of the chamber or unmute your microphone to ask your question online. Please note that you may only ask one question and it should be a question, not a statement. We have 30 minutes for this item and we'll get through as many questions as we're able to in the time allocated. We do this evening have a large number of questions indicated, so please keep your questions and responses succinct so we can get through as many as possible. The first supplementary question is from Barry Smith. Could you please ask your question now?
Yeah, good evening. I'd like to thank the cabinet member for his initial response and ask the following supplementary. An FOI response published online in December 2024 showed that Merton has previously used P cards to pay for items such as Netflix, Disney Plus, and a single hotel transaction costing over £3,000. Other local authorities such as Hammersmith and Fulham publish a full list of P card transactions quarterly to improve transparency. Will the cabinet member commit to doing the same for Merton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Democrat candidate for Abbey, for his question and for his supplementary. I'd like to remind him that procurement e-cards are used in the majority, for emergency temporary accommodation, for day centres that need food on the day, for social, adult and youth care. In the main, that's what they're used for, and we will continue to use them for those very purposes. Thank you.
The next question is from Richard Poole. Would you like to come forward, Mr. Poole?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Leader of the council may be surprised to hear that I'm a Liberal Democrat for Mitcham and Morden. There are plenty of me around, just like me. I appreciate your complacency. Thank you to the Cabinet member for your clear answer, confirming you've reversed the 2021-22 budget saving to close one centre, which at the time was to be Eastway in Cannon Hill ward, which was saved by a successful Liberal Democrat campaign working with the community. Can the Cabinet member say why, when support for local social care and our local NHS is so crucial to the health of our borough's residents, and when the management of St Helier Hospital are on the record saying that St Helier Hospital estate is deteriorating faster than the trust can repair it, and they have a £150 million backlog in repairs, why has Merton Labour failed to stand up for Merton's residents and secured from the Labour government the tens of millions of pounds needed to fix our St Helier Hospital?
Councillor McCabe.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to thank Richard Poole, the Liberal Democrat candidate for Cannon Hill, for his long speech rather than a question, in which he's drifted right off the point and made a series of remarks which are completely unrelated to his question. But I think the answer to the question is very clear. There are no day centres going to be closed, and the decision to keep Eastways open was not as a result of a Lib Dem campaign. It was as a result of a decision which I took, and I, as a person who was a carer for a father who had dementia for the last years of his life, know how important day centres are, and that's the reason that day centre remains open, and it is open and it will remain open.
We now move on to Nigel Bembo. Is Nigel in the chamber?
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Thank you for Connor, but I mean that there has been no covenant report. So for nearly 9 years, there has been no covenant level tracking or reporting, and you are now pointing us to a policy document, the local plan, not a delivery update. In plain terms, that is like offering a brochure instead of a promised timetable. The question is, will the cabinet commit to producing a delivery report to go to either of the next two cabinet meetings, setting out what was promised in 2017, what was delivered with dates and spend, and costed sense Woburn Green Gateway timetable, including projected milestones. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel, for a reminder with your supplementary question of your own distinguished service on Merton Council. It's good to see you again, and thank you for your past work for South Wimbledon. Really, the answer is that the original recommendation was for the council to take action, not the cabinet. And the council has taken action by adopting the local plan, which fulfills the obligation that the resolution called for in the most powerful way we can, by establishing South Wimbledon as a local town centre. And there is also now a clear placemaking strategy around the development of the High Path estate, which is so crucial to South Wimbledon. But thank you for your contribution today, Nigel.
We now move on to Benjamin Smith. Not in the chamber. We'll then move on then to Steph Wyatt. Steph Wyatt in the chamber.
Thank you for the response to the question. The supplementary is that neighbouring council Sutton, along with other councils in its Pepper sub-fund, is in discussions with the London Collective Investment Vehicle to agree exclusions from Israel-related companies. And the LCIV has agreed to implement whatever those councils collectively decide. Will Merton now do the same by joining forces with Wandsworth, Camden and Richmond in its own LCIV sub-fund to formally instruct the LCIV on exclusion criteria? Or will the council explain to the 3,400 petition signatories why not?
Councillor Annan Brittas to respond.
I thank Steph White for her original question and for her supplementary question. The London Borough of Merton is a member of LCIV, like other councils, 32 councils plus the City of London Corporation. The aim of any local borough pension fund is to reduce costs to the senior citizens and to increase benefits to them. We here in Merton pay out £26 million a year to our senior citizens. Our pension fund is worth over £1 billion, and our leader has written on the issues you're concerned about, and I will send that leader's letter to your good self. We're members of LCIV, and we will follow whatever LCIV decide, and we will try and influence LCIV and talk to London councils on all ethical matters pertaining to our pension fund. But it is paying out £26 million happily to our pensioners. Thank you.
Sorry, that's it. Right, we move on next to Leo Lau, please, via Teams. Sorry, please don't. Leo, could you please unmute yourself?
My apologies, sorry, not so familiar with American technology. Yeah, I just want to talk about the story around the Freedom Pass. I want to know what estimate has the cabinet member made of the cost of administration the Freedom Pass?
Sorry, the volume's very low here. Yes, we'll
Okay.
just. Yep. Do you want to start again, Leo, with your question?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for taking the question. I want to know what estimate has the cabinet member made of the cost to Merton Council of the administration, the Freedom Pass, up to end of the last decade? And what is the story about surrounding the abolition of it if the Labour administration is so adamant about not cancelling at all? So why did it become the story in the first place?
Thank you very much for that question to the Liberal Democrat candidate for Village Wards. Unfortunately, in Merton, we are flanked by Lib Dem councils that believe the Freedom Pass is an expensive burden. And so I'm very grateful for the opportunity to once again reiterate that this Labour administration will countenance no change in the Freedom Pass, as has every other Labour council in London, something that sadly the Liberal Democrats cannot say. But not content with worrying residents by calling the future of the Freedom Pass into question here in Merton, the Merton Liberal Democrats have also been trying to scaremonger and frighten residents about the future of bus services here in Merton, despite numerous assurances from TfL, from Go Ahead.
I decide what's relevant in this chamber. Councillor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. As I was saying, despite numerous assurances from Go Ahead, from TfL, there is no threat to these services, including from the Mayor of London today. The Liberal Democrats continue to put this out. And just like the Freedom Pass, where they're terrifying our residents with that, they're doing the same with our bus services. So I look forward to the Liberal Democrats clarifying the public record and coming clean about what is actually happening here in Merton.
Thank you.
Point of order.
Yes. What point of the Constitution are you referring to?
As we've been given the opportunity to clarify the position, can we do so now? As the cabinet members given us the opportunity?
Yeah, I think there's an answer been given to the question, and I think we'll move on. You may disagree. Right, we'll move on then to Jocelyn Kruwagen, who has a supplementary. Jocelyn.
Thank you for the opportunity to give the supplementary question. So the national surveys have shown that the public widely understand that placing of national flags on lampposts is racially intimidating. The Together Alliance, March 28th, is giving Merton Council an opportunity to show that you are against any form of racial intimidation. Will the council accept that even promotion alone would send an important message of reassurance to affected communities?
Councillor Stringer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank Jocelyn Kruwagen for her question and for her supplementary. And I want to reiterate this council, and I hope I speak for everyone in the chamber, our commitment to anti-racism, our commitment to our diverse communities, and our commitment to fighting hate crime and keeping people safe. As I said in my written answer, we do not promote, endorse marches of many different types that go on across London. We take the actions that we can take here in our community to play the role that we can as local leaders, tackling racism, tackling hate crime, and ensuring diversity. Thank you.
Thank you. We move on to the next supplementary on the agenda. Cleon Wilson. Is Cleon Wilson in the chamber? You'd like to come forward to ask your supplementary.
First, I'd like to say thank you for your response to my question. In your written answer, you point residents to Clarion's website, the Planning Explorer, and the scrutiny papers, but that's not a trackable program. Will the council at least commit to publish one council-owned quarterly high-path dashboard covering phases 2 to 7, showing where we were initially meant to be versus the current dates and the reasons for each change/delay?
I thank you for the supplementary question. It's simply not the council's role to do that. Clarion are not the council. They're a completely different organisation. they put targets in their planning application, and those targets are, I gather, updated on a regular basis. And the way we hold housing associations to account is through scrutiny. So the Sustainable Scrutiny Panel, Sustainable Community Scrutiny Panel, holds Clarion to account there. And part of it is about their progress in relation to their building on different sites. But thank you.
The next supplementary is from Ellie Iono. Is Ellie Iono here? If you'd like to come forward, Ellie.
Firstly, good evening, and thank you very much for your response to my original question. Will you publish for Abbey a street-by-street list showing which streets have dimming and/or park night settings? And will you let residents know how these timings can be challenged by the community to request a review of street lighting after any crime incidents?
Thank you very much for the supplementary question. Tackling and improving safety is a massive priority for this borough, and I'm happy to meet and speak to any resident who wants to do it in our community. So I'll be happy to chat with you about what we can do locally in Abbey.
Next supplementary is from Chris Bird. Is Chris Bird in the chamber? If you'd like to come forward, Chris.
Thank you for the answer to my original question. Unfortunately, while Labour has spent a year drafting documents, businesses in the borough are still struggling. Since residents have become used to promises forever pending or being re-announced with nothing actually being delivered, what actual practical steps will the council take and commit to in the forthcoming budget to support businesses that bring economic, cultural and social benefits to the borough?
Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to thank Mr. Bird, who I gather is trying to unseat my friend here in Ravensbury as a, well, emphasis on the word trying. But I welcome the question, always happy to discuss what we're doing to support the nighttime economy. We take the writing of our strategy seriously. We want to make sure they're evidence-based, which is why we're taking the time to get the consultation responses and also feed this in with our wider economic work. That does not stop the action that we've already taken. I've already talked in here about the work that we're doing to keep our streets safe, to upgrade our CCTV network so people feel confident go out at night. Just recently, we had 2 big meetings with businesses to hear what are the challenges that they're facing and discuss how we can work better with them. We are taking action every day. We want Merton to be a great place where businesses can thrive and grow. Thank you.
Next person is Mariam Hakim. Mariam, if you'd like to come forward to ask your supplementary.
Hi, good evening. My initial question was about the risk of local traffic and parking pressures with regards to the artificial grass pitch being installed in West Barn. So I thank you for your answer to the Cabinet member. I note that you said the planning application will be submitted in spring 2026. So spring is considered to be roughly March to May. Can the Cabinet member confirm that the planning application for the AGP will be made after the local elections so that the residents can take this issue, amongst others, into consideration when we cast our votes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks to Mariam Hakim, who I believe is the Lib Dem candidate for West Barnes. Following the announcement of funding for the AGP, the artificial grass pitch, as I said in my original response, the council appointed a team of consultants to lead on this work, and the planning application will be made, and therefore what you're asking will be all part of that planning application. And like any major application, residents will be well informed in advance, and you will have the opportunity to question and to read the application, read the document that will be in there, and ask questions that you would like to ask. Thank you.
Next person is Richard Shillito via Teams. You there, Mr. Shillito? Supplementary, please. Mr. Shillito, if you'd like, are you there? I can see you. If you'd like to unmute and ask your supplementary, please.
Hello, if I'm audible now? Am I audible now? Hello? Hello?
Supplementary?
Hello? Hello?
Hello, I can hear you. If you could ask your supplementary, please.
All right. Sorry, thank you for the answer to my question. I note the figure of over £2.5 million for overpaid council tax given in reply to my question, a figure which I believe has quadrupled in 2 years and suggests that the council needs to be more proactive in this matter. What steps will the council take to ensure that the £2.5 million is returned to overpayers as soon as possible?
British.
I thank Richard Shillito. I heard you loud and clear, Richard, as the Liberal Democrat candidate for Hillside. We, like all 32 boroughs, including the City of London as a local authority, which includes Liberal Democrat councils, take action to repay and to refund those who overpay their council tax. We do exactly what all other councils do. We do our best to repay any overpayments. Thank you.
Next one is Robert Mitchell. Are you in the chamber, Mr. Mitchell? You could come forward, please.
Thank you, and thank you for hearing my question. Before I kick off, I am actually a Liberal Democrat candidate. You know, before you get to out me as one, I thought I'd be upfront about that. I'd like to thank the cabinet member for answering my question in regards to communication spending from 2022, but I was a bit disappointed to find that in an election year, there was an omission of spending year to date. And I was wondering whether they would be able to provide those figures today so we know what they've been spending up to this very moment.
Senator British.
I thank the Robert Mitchell. I thought for a minute that was Robert Mitchum, but Robert Mitchell, the Lib Dem candidate. You didn't tell us which ward. Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor. So, Mr. Mayor, I thought Robert Mitchell was Robert Mitchum. He's the Liberal Democrat candidate in Cannon Hill. The LGA, Local Government Association peer review, as evidenced in my letter, is very, very happy with our spend on communications and will take advice from them. Thank you.
And we now go on to the final question, which is via Teams, is Jack Gebhard. Jack, are you there?
Hi, I am. Yeah, can you hear me okay?
If you'd like to ask your supplementary, Jack.
Yeah, Jack Gebhard, the Conservative candidate for Lower Morden. I'm actually stood here.
Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yes.
Excellent. I'm actually stood here on Cardinal Avenue, where the surface is a disgrace, as I'm sure residents will be very annoyed about. Thanks for your earlier answer, but you said that work would start before spring. Spring is only 6 weeks away, and there aren't any road closures announced as yet. The residents can't be sure when they're going to start. When does the member expect the works to be completed? Thank you.
Councillor Neveson.
Great, thank you very much for the question, and to the Tory candidate in Lower Morden for that. It's great to have your on-the-ground reporting this evening. I'm very happy to say that it will be completed shortly. I don't know the date on the top of my head, but it will be soon. But I just want to add a quick point about, you know, the fact that we have a Conservative complaining about the state of our roads when for 14 years they invested absolutely nothing in supporting them. But I have some good news for him, that since this Labour government came in the first year, they gave us an extra 360,000 to go towards road repairs. In the second year, just gone, they gave us £660,000 towards road repairs. And this coming year, they're giving us 1.5 million. So he can be very grateful for a Labour administration and Labour government for the works that will be happening at that road soon. I'm sure residents will be grateful.
Thank you. And that concludes public questions. We're on to agenda item number 6, councillor questions to Cabinet Member. These have been published along with the responses from Cabinet Member. I will read out each member's name in the order they appear in the agenda and invite you to ask a supplementary question. Please ensure all supplementary questions are brief and not a statement, and we'll get through as many as possible in the 30 minutes allocated. Please, can you also be succinct in your responses? So the first question is Councillor Hayes. Do you have a supplementary?
Thanks for the response from the Cabinet Member. It's really great to hear about progress of our Safer Streets team. Can the Cabinet Member update us on how else this administration is keeping Merton as one of the safest boroughs in London? Thank you.
Mayor. Thank you to Councillor Billy Hayes for your supplementary question. The Safer Martin team are doing a brilliant job to keep Martin one of the safest boroughs, as we have been for several years. We have the Safer we have the Safer Haven site providing refuge for reassurance and also for anybody who is feeling, you know, vulnerable in public spaces. I'm not going to name, we've done so much, but I'm only giving you a few. We are also provided a knife amnesty, offering secure and anonymous way to surrender knife weapon in Mitcham. We are also offering private and discreet locations for people experiencing domestic violence, especially women who are really vulnerable. And we are also making sure that partnership with the Voice Box, supporting young boys in schools and also understanding healthy masculinity. I'm not going to go on. We've done so many. Thank you very much for your supplementary question.
Councillor Rees, do you have a supplementary?
I do indeed, and I think I should announce myself as a candidate for the Liberal Democrats for Wimbledon Park. Thank you. I like this. So we've asked a few times now about the basis for the increases in fees and charges. So we've had inflation, we've had benchmarking versus other boroughs, and now this answer is about cost recovery. So you say you keep fees and charges as low as possible, but inflation busting increases are a choice. Inflation isn't 33%. So could the Cabinet Member please give me a practical example of how he thinks he's kept fees as low as possible? Thank you.
Councillor Brissis.
Thank you. I'd like to thank my co-Fulham fan. Yes, I have an example here, because you're talking about the cost of living crisis and how we may compare. So I have an example here for Councillor Rees from Kingston Council. Kingston has a higher council tax, yet Merton helps more people with council tax support. Merton has more parks and green spaces and more green flags. Merton charges less for garden waste collections. Merton provides free pop-up tips and Kingston does not. Merton funds borough free wide swimming for under 16s and over 65s, and Kingston does not, and we need no lessons in helping people with cost of living from those over there.
Councillor Attawar, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I do have a supplementary. I'd like to thank the cabinet member for his response. It's great to hear about the work going towards making our borough more accessible. Could the cabinet member explain how Merton's new lane rental scheme will work and what impact it will have in the borough?
Everson.
Thank you very much for the supplementary question. And I'm delighted to say that Merton Council will be one of the very first boroughs in London, indeed the country, to operate a lane rental scheme. Many residents will be sick and tired of some of the roadworks that have been going on our roads, including sometimes the same road multiple times from not mainly groups like Thames Water and SGN, who keep going to the same places to dig up the roads and causing traffic issues. This new lane rental scheme will allow us to charge a daily fee for our major roads for whenever they are doing those roadworks. And from the examples from around the country, from where in the small trials it's been done already, has shown there's a very big impact on the speed with which those works are completed. So I'd like to say a huge thank you to our officers, to my predecessor, who's done a tremendous amount of work in pushing this forward and making sure that we are front of the pack and we are truly setting the pace for innovative transport policies here in Merton.
I'm going to go back to Councillor McLean. Councillor McLean, do you have a supplementary?
I do indeed. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank the cabinet member for his answer. This, of course, is just another one of the long line of poor political decisions from the President past Labour administrations. Of course, we're talking about the £2.1 million that they spent on a building company that never laid a single brick, the £77 million they lost because they didn't have the contract in place on the clawback with Clarion. And now we also see £30 million on the DSG because you didn't have any in-borough provision, and over £200 million on the council tax support scheme. Does the cabinet member agree with me that Merton Labour is far from a business-like council?
And British.
I thank Councillor McLean for his original and for his supplementary. I was elected leader of this council in 2010 and remained so till 2020, and in 2012 the Lib Dem Conservative coalition handed back council tax support to local councils, held back 10% and said to councils, you can absorb the 10% or pass it on to your residents. We've absorbed it since then, and that's the way it will stay.
Councillor Bakari, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do, and I'll be standing for the third time in West Farns as your Liberal Democrat candidate. The Money Saving Expert website still says that the information on there is incorrect, which is why carers who are struggling to get support do not trust Labour-run Merton Council. Will you proactively contact residents about the benefits that they are entitled to, and will you apologise for letting down our residents? This is absolutely atrocious that there are carers out there who can't get that accurate information because of this disappointing Labour-led council and disappointing Labour-led government.
Councillor Alan Brittas.
I thank the councillor for her question, Mr. Mayor, and for her supplementary. I cannot understand how there can be a supplementary when our answer quite clearly says we've corrected Money Saving Expert. I'll leave it at that.
Sorry, you come through me, but yeah, I think that is answered now. We'll move on to Councillor Austin. Councillor Austin, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor, and can I thank the cabinet member for his answer. The Conservative government helped businesses through the pandemic, and now it is the Labour government that is putting huge unnecessary pressure on businesses. The Valuations Office Agency shows that following the government's revaluation, the average rateable values in Merton have increased by 21% since 2023. This is simply unaffordable for many businesses across the borough, including in Britain's best high street in Wimbledon Village, and is deeply unfair. So will the administration join with us in signing a cross-party letter to the government to demand that Merton businesses are treated fairly and that the government lowers the financial burden on all of Merton's businesses? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank the councillor for his original and for his supplementary, and yes, for being a councillor with a very, very nice high street in Wimbledon Village. However, I go back to 1990. I'm sorry, you caught me on my subject. 1990, He of the Night, Michael Howard, local government secretary of state minister, changes business rates, and Margaret Thatcher tries to change domestic rates with the introduction of the poll tax. The non-domestic rates becomes the uniform business rate, and the only thing that local authorities have to do with the business rates is to bill, collect, hand back to the government. I'll give you one example. The All England, in your ward, I believe, the All England, we bill it for 9 million, we only get 3 million back. The people to write to, which is I'm going to let you write to them first, is the Inland Revenue Valuation Office. They deal with valuations, not the council.
Move on to Councillor Johnston. Councillor Johnston, do you have a supplementary?
Can I thank the Cabinet member for her answer? Merton has some of the best parks and green spaces in London, and I can see that the council has just agreed a new contract with Glendale to deliver maintenance of our beloved parks and green spaces. So can the Cabinet member expand a bit about how this will benefit the council and residents?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank Councillor Johnson for his question, for his commitment to our parks and green spaces. And as I said in my answer, we do have some of the best in the country. I say we're very proud of them and the work that we've put into them. And we have, through a really thorough tender process, identified a contractor that's going to take over looking after our parks and green spaces from later in November. I'd like to firstly thank ID Birdie for all of their work with us over the past 9 years, and we will be continuing to work very closely with them over the coming months. But Glendale will become responsible for our parks and open spaces, and their proposal means that we'll be maintaining the level of service that our residents and our volunteers and our visitors expect. So the vital functions around cleaning, maintenance, the horticultural features, the playground maintenance, but we're also going to be continuing to develop our parks. And the contract will offer really good value for money for the council whilst maintaining these excellent service levels. But I'm also excited about the innovations that Glendale are proposing. For example, they've got ideas about how to improve parks engagement and the communication with friends groups and local residents, and some commitments around clean energy, which, as the Cabinet member for climate change, I'm very excited about seeing, and I look forward to working with them over the coming years. And thank you.
Ola, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I seem to be the only person asking a question tonight who's not standing for election in May. I thought you'd be pleased with that. Can I thank the leader for his reply? I'm not sure how to break it to him, but on Monday I received a letter from Commander Hayley Stewart of the Met confirming the closure of the front counters at both Wimbledon and Mitcham police stations. Rather than indulging in these flights of fantasy, will he follow the lead of my Lib Dem colleagues in Richmond who have begun legal proceedings to save their police station front counter? And will he consider applying to the High Court to join Richmond Council's legal action as an interested party?
Councillor Garrod.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank Councillor Kohler for raising this important issue and his supplementary question. And as I outlined in the leader's speech, we were pleased to receive the news that both police stations in Mitcham and Wimbledon will remain open and that they have been saved. And this used to be a position of Councillor Kohler when he said, having a police station in the heart of the community means police are more visible, key in building trust, and get to incidents far more quicker. And with both stations there, officers will now save time from travelling to there be in the different wards in this borough to make sure that they hit their 20-minute cap. Now, what I will say, I am accustomed to Lib Dems changing positions left, right and centre. What I will say is is our position has always been one of the front counters remaining open. And we don't agree with the Met's decision that has been communicated to. Would you like me to answer the question, or would you like to continue to interrupt? You need to savor this moment when you're not here after May. Our position has always been one to keep the front counters open, and we don't agree with the Met Police's decision. With the Met Police's decision. And rather than harping from the sidelines, like we see from opposition councillors, as they tend to do because they have no impact and no relationships, we're in dialogue. You can laugh, but have you not read the weekly roundup from the MP of Wimbledon? Quizzed a minister, had a photo with somebody. But I'm not, no. But you want to
through me. You go through me, not direct. Yes, continue, Councillor.
And rather than harping from the sidelines, we will continue, as we have done since the announcement, to remain in dialogue with the Met Police to see what measures we can introduce to mitigate the impacts and see if there are any local solutions that we can come to. This is a council that takes action, that doesn't protest from the sidelines, and not having the luxury of being in power suits the Lib Dems down to a T. And come May, we look forward to returning to these benches and exposing the Lib Dems for who they really are.
Move on. We now move on to Councillor Holden. Councillor Holden, have you got a supplementary? Sorry, please be quiet. Please be quiet. Councillor Holden.
Mr. Mayor, I thank the Cabinet member for his answer. These figures represent real and deep cuts to the council's budget. Can the Cabinet member tell me what cuts he intends to make due to the actions of his Labour government?
I'd like to thank Councillor Holden for his original question and for his supplementary. I don't understand the word cuts.
Now move on to Councillor Kirby. Councillor Kirby, do you have a supplementary?
I do. Labour, a candidate for Graveney Ward, standing for the 11th time, 10th time, along with my colleague Peter McCabe. Yes, I do have a question. I would first of all say thank you for the good news about how we're going to be tackling fly tipping and currently tackling fly tipping, but I'd be grateful to know about some of the council's plans now to deal with some of the other issues in the community, like graffiti, please.
Thank you very much for the question, and I'm very happy to say that we will be launching a graffiti removal service scheme shortly that will offer free graffiti removal from businesses and private addresses across the borough. These teams will be starting with some of the known hotspots that we know on our high streets and that many residents have raised to us, and then it'll be moving out to all over the borough. So wherever there is graffiti, we will be looking to remove that. And the indemnity forms that we'll be getting these businesses and private properties to sign means that we will have 12 months to remove graffiti if it appears again in the future. So we'll be keeping it clean now and for many months ahead to come. Even at this early stage, we've already had a great response from local businesses. And it's this, along with all the measures we're doing to tackle fly tipping and keep our community clean, whether it's increasing the fines for fly tipping, whether it's the new cameras we've got to catch fly tippers, whether it's our wall of shame or our pop-up tips, are all about making Merton clean and tidy and a wonderful place to live. Thank you very much.
We now move on to Councillor Oliver. Councillor Oliver, do you have a supplementary?
I do, thank you. And I would introduce myself as the Liberal Democrat candidate in Coniswood. Thank you. Thank you very much for your answer to my question and the data that you provided. Perhaps you could explain to us how, working on the assumption of a 5% annual increase in council tax, the amount of money that can be spent per household only increases by 1%.
Councillor Brittis.
The I thank Councillor Oliver for his question and for his supplementary. I'll refer him to the answer. I'll get him a copy of the response sent in by London councils to which this local authority contributed. And I think what is interesting about the settlement is the 3 years and the certainty that that provides. But I'll continue to engage with him and explain how the budget works.
We now move on to Councillor Saida. Councillor Saida, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. This is a question for Cabinet Member Councillor Judge. It's great to hear that building the homes Merton needs will be a key part of the remaking of Morden. Can you kindly update us on the progress the council is already making on delivering the homes Merton needs? Thank you.
Saida, for the supplementary question. I'm very glad to say we now have a council house building programme amounting to 248 homes. In respect of our own build, we are building 75. In partnership with Berkeley Homes, we're building 146, and we're acquiring by acquisition 27 further homes. So in terms of those 146 homes at the former Mitcham Gasworks site from St William Berkeley Homes to provide new social homes, new council homes at social rent, that deal is now completed. Both Berkeley Homes and the GLA are accepting the position we have set out. In midway through this month, we expect to see the exchange of contracts with a start on site in the first quarter of the coming year. In terms of the construction of the 75 homes by direct build, contracts have been let and work has commenced. And with both of these schemes, we have an approximate 2-year timeline to completion. And work is going ahead in terms of the 27 homes that we are acquiring. And soon I expect to be able to announce confirmation that all those homes have in fact been acquired by the council. Thank you very much.
Councillor Wilson, do you have a supplementary?
I do, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thank the Cabinet Member for his reply, but as you failed to answer my question, I presume you have closed your ears to the pressures facing local businesses. So I'll ask again, can you commit to bringing a report on the impact of Labour's national insurance hikes and rising rates on local businesses?
I thank the councillor for her original question and for her supplementary, and just want to remind her that for over 20 years I worked for the Federation of Small Businesses. I have huge empathy for small businesses, and just one example is the way in which we have supported a market in Mitcham on every second Saturday, and I have statistics that show that footfall has increased, and I keep in touch with her on other areas.
Councillor Fumu, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. And thank you to the Cabinet Member, Councillor Kenny, for our response. It is great to hear about what Employ Merton has been doing locally for our residents. As we come to the end of the first year pilot, could you please update us on the future of Employ Merton?
I thank Councillor Fumu for her question and her supplementary. I agree. Employ Merton has been a great success, and it's assisted hundreds of Merton residents getting jobs, getting interviews, getting paid internships, and adding to their qualifications. And I'm absolutely delighted to say Employ Merton's success has been so good that we are going to continue with Employ Merton as a council, working with all the local businesses to provide employment for Merton people and support those surrounding boroughs too. We're taking the opportunity to embed our employability as a council to support so many hundreds and hundreds of Merton residents, and we're spreading out and supporting surrounding boroughs who need help.
Councillor MacArthur, do you have?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the Cabinet Member for his response.
We were delighted when the Council chose to support the Liberal Democrat motion on period poverty in 2023. I'm sure you'll agree, particularly important scheme during a cost of living crisis. Given a reasonable amount of money was spent in 24-25, why was the spend in 25-26 60% lower? I wonder if you could give the reasons for that. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Councillor MacArthur for her original question and for her supplementary and for raising this very, very important issue. We provided the statistics, we've given her the answers. I'm happy to meet with her to discuss the questions she's just asked because I don't have the answer here. Thank you.
I want to give a 5-minute warning for questions. Councillor Butcher, do you have a supplementary?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank the Cabinet Member for his initial response. It's fantastic to hear about the efforts we're taking to tackle child poverty here in Merton. Could the Cabinet Member tell me more about what the impact the government's new child poverty strategy is expected to have on our residents? Thank you.
I would like to start by thanking my councillor colleague for that question and also for giving me the opportunity to talk about an issue that I care so deeply about. Mr. Mayor and colleagues in the room will know that after years of coalition and conservative austerity, child poverty has risen by around 900,000 across the country to roughly 4.5 million children. This is a national shame, and it's sadly families who have paid the price of this rise. But because of this new strategy, families will be getting £150 off their energy bills from this April. And this £150 warm homes discount will also be extended to around 2.7 million more of the poorest households, which means around 6 million households will now get this support. The child poverty strategy also includes money off things like baby formula and an expansion in childcare, alongside the free school meals programme being extended across all schools, which are lifting an additional 100,000 children out of poverty. But Mr. Mayor, I know colleagues here care specifically about Merton, and in Merton, I'm proud to say that we are set to lift almost 4,000, that is almost 4,000 children out of poverty through the removal of the 2-child benefit cap. And so it's absolutely clear that Labour is acting to tackle child poverty both nationally and locally, and will keep pushing to make sure that the UK and Merton are the best places for children to grow up and for families to live. Thank you for the question.
Councillor Szczepanski, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I do. I would like to thank you, Cabinet Member, for her reply. It's welcome that the feedback from residents and local organizations has shaped the final strategy. Can the Cabinet Member set up what the strategy will deliver at this stage? Thank you.
Councillor Cooper-Marvier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks to Councillor Szczepanski for his original and his supplementary question. And can I start off by just thanking officers for their hard work and working with the consultants in delivering the strategy. This strategy is about collectively working together with key sporting organizations, local clubs, external investors, and to improve our sporting facility infrastructure. And we've already starting to work on these. And so, for example, we are building an artificial grass pitch at Sir Joseph Hood. We've committed a substantial fund to the sports hall expansion at Modern Leisure Centre, where we have a range of sporting activities for our residents. We are developing paddle and pickleball facilities across the borough, with new facilities opening at Wimbledon Athletic Stadium in the spring of 2026, so very soon. We are delivering 4 new play zones, and that's multi-use sports facilities in our parks. And this is funded by Football Foundation. We are investing across the borough to increase the number of football pitches. And so these are just few examples of some of the things that we are going to achieve as a result of our playing pitch strategy, and we are looking forward to doing more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to the Cabinet Member for his answer. It's great to hear how residents have been involved in shaping the Merton Legacy Fund every step of the way. In terms of the projects that have been shortlisted for residents to vote on, could you say a bit more about those projects and which parts of the borough they will benefit?
I'd like to thank Councillor Billy Christie for his original and for his supplementary, and refer people back to the groundbreaking sale of a council-owned company called Chas by this local authority that brought in a boost of £186 million to the borough, and 15 million of that is allocated to the residents for them to decide where it goes to. So projects like cycle lanes, project in St Mark's Place, bottle refilling stations, library e-books, Wandle Trail greening, Cannon's House, Abbey Rett Playground. I could go on and on. Projects are there, plus every part of the borough will benefit, including the 6 town centres, plus all corners, all borders, and the residents of this borough will have a vote on exactly which option they want to go for. Very good news, very democratic, very, very welcome. Thank you.
We have a supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank the Cabinet Member for his written answer and also his years of support to better housing issues in Pollards Hill. The plight of leaseholder residents in the Meadows, Pollards Hill, is becoming more acute, which he and his department will be very aware through casework. Will the Cabinet Member expand upon what support he is planning to give these residents and how he will keep them updated?
Well, I thank Councillor Monday for his supplementary question and for his consistent work on behalf of his residents in Pollards Hill. Many residents have faced steep hikes in service charges. Very often these seem difficult to understand, difficult to comprehend, and are often unjust. I shall be glad to meet with Councillor Monday and with leaseholders to try and work out what practical steps we can take next and to support them. We could jointly support them in those steps. Thank you.
Afraid we've run out of time, so we'll now move on to agenda item number 7, Liberal Democrat motion. I call upon Councillor Fairclough to move the motion. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm happy to propose this motion. Interested to see a number of Cabinet members leaving the chamber, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, we need a fairer and more affordable Merton, one that properly confronts the cost of living crisis so people can afford to live here. And it's high time that the cost of living crisis locally, and particularly child poverty, were acknowledged and tackled. Since late 2023, 80 children have died whilst living in temporary accommodation across the country. The all-party parliamentary group reported these figures, found that poverty was a significant contributing factor to increased vulnerability to mortality. That, I'm sure we'll all agree, even those not in the room, is a national disgrace. But it hits home here in Merton. That APPG is chaired by Mitcham and Morden's MP, and in Merton, whilst relative child poverty has seen some borough-wide decline in recent years, aligning with broader London trends, the picture is far from rosy. In Mitcham and Morden, we still rank as having the 10th highest child poverty rate in the capital. Now that's 4 in 10 children living in relative poverty, a figure that has barely shifted in over a decade. Now, these aren't just numbers, they're families struggling with soaring costs and inadequate housing. Mr. Mayor, the benefits boost strategy we propose tonight is a simple and proven idea. Many Merton residents miss out on benefits and social tariffs and many things mentioned earlier due to limited awareness, system complexity and stigma around claiming. Most of us, if not all of us here, will have experience of benefits, whether that's receiving them at some point in our lives, family and friends who receive them, or from helping constituents, and yet too often the debate in this chamber is characterised by artificial and simplistic division, whether that's Labour's Rich Wimbledon, Paul Mitcham and Morden, or those at the back of the chamber who argue The welfare state has hollowed out the strands of responsibility and social solidarity, and that benefits must be linked to contributions. They are those who want to bring back the concepts of deserving and undeserving poor. And whilst being poor is not a virtue either, Mr. Mayor, my first experience of benefits was having to go in the special queue for free school meals. It was helping my mum fill out 40-page income support and family credit forms in the early 90s as a 12 or 13-year-old. And those narratives that devalue the sacrifices made by families doing their best that they can for their children belong in the 19th century, and certainly not in this chamber. Now, Councillor Hall will touch on the details, but our Benefits Boost motion is built on principles of fairness, opportunity and community support. It provides tools to help people claim what they're entitled to without judgment, helping people during the tough times. Now, Mr. Mayor, there's lots of talk in this chamber about bridging gaps, but too often what our residents experience is papering over the cracks while nothing really changes. This motion is a chance to do something different, to turn warm words into practical support and principles into action. Because child poverty is not inevitable, it's a result of choices. I understand that politics is about choices. So let us choose to make Merton fairer and more affordable. Let us choose to make Merton a great place to grow up, a borough we proudly choose to call home. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I call upon Councillor Hall to second. You have 4 minutes, Councillor Hall.
Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, as the Lib Dem candidate for Wimbledon Park Ward, I would like to second this motion. I'm sure that, like me, you must all be shocked at the level of unclaimed benefits which are owed to Merton residents. £71.3 million. Read it and weep. Except don't weep. Let's do something about it. This motion calls on the administration to redirect attention away from the fragmented support and instead towards building a practical and comprehensive strategy, something which would allow some 20,000 residents in Merton to unlock the support they need and, importantly, support they are entitled to. We first called on this council to introduce this 18 months ago, and in doing so, we inspired several other councils to put this into practice, and it's about time Merton did too. Policy in practice works with local authorities, policymakers, employers and individuals to help realise the potential of unclaimed benefits. Many London councils have already procured their services and are offering the online calculator to residents. Camden, Ealing, Greenwich, Haringey, Southwark, Islington and Westminster, to name just a few. This tool is helping to deliver untapped support for residents at a time when household budgets are tighter than ever. In the case of East Riding in Yorkshire Council, after 2 years of offering the policy in practice Better Off calculator, the council put £13 million back into the pockets of residents and restored £652,000 worth of debt to the council. In South Cambridgeshire, the council facilitated over 1,000 successful benefit claims in the first year owing to this tool. In addition to the calculator, the Low Income Family Tracker, or LIFT, helps local authorities identify and target households eligible for, but missing out on, different types of benefits, helping to facilitate proactive and targeted communication. Surely, this strategy must be seen as a no-brainer. I know the cabinet members opposite will say they're already doing so much for low-income families, but frankly, for such a small investment, you could do so much more. Merton's online benefits advice is currently swamped in complex language and calculations, information which is extremely difficult to navigate for the most financially vulnerable looking for support, often in a time of crisis. Did you know that Merton is one of only 6 London councils to not have a benefits calculator tool on their website? Passing this motion tonight will ensure that our advice to residents is correct, clear and accessible. And so I urge the councillors in this chamber to ask themselves, do you really think that supermarket vouchers are the best you can offer? This is a low cost to the council. Many of the benefits are unlocked through the policy and practice tools are government funded, and the return on investment is strong. For every £1 spent on the tool by East Riding Council, excuse me, a £416 return on investment was delivered. We are asking you to review the processes outlined as part of the budget process. Look at the practical ways to improve your services. Adopt processes which will put money in people's pockets and reduce their dependence on the council, and correct your information so that you are offering residents simple and accurate advice. How can you disagree with that? Mr. Mayor, councillors, I beg to second.
I have the following list to speak. Councillor Stringer, you have 4 minutes.
Since I've been a councillor, there's been an almost continual economic crisis. This was perpetuated by the Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition government, and then the successively terrible Conservative governments. Let us not forget that Brexit deal, the Liz Truss mini budget. This and global events have all manifested into a cost of living crisis affecting all of us, but particularly the most vulnerable in our community. And under those Conservatives and Lib Dems, public spending was slashed, council finances decimated, austerity imposed upon our nation, and this country painfully soldiered through welfare reforms and benefit cuts totaling £32.6 billion. So I find it laughable, Mr. Mayor, to have a Liberal Democrat opposition that seeks to disparage the efforts of this Labour Council, the hard work we are doing to mitigate the hardships felt by many of our residents. Residents thrust into this predicament via policies that the Liberal Democrats voted for. So these policies include, Mr. Mayor, the decision of the coalition government to cut council tax support, as my friend Councillor Anne Breed has mentioned, directly harming our poorest resident. As their next motion quotes, they seem to like quoting this, politics is about choices. And our Labour Council made the choice to keep on protecting the poorest households from council tax. A decade on, Merton has one of the most generous council tax support schemes in the country, supporting more than 10,000 households. That's not all, Mr. Mayor. Over the past few years, our cost of living programme has reached thousands of people in personalised support, from over 5,500 who've attended our 23 sessions in local libraries, to the 3,000 who've received specialist death advice support from our local citizen advice, thanks to funding from us, to the many who've benefited from our work increasing take-up of pension credit, which has generated over £3 million of lifetime value for our poorest elderly households. This is all on top of the everyday work of our in-house benefits team. Given the success of these campaigns, the council is now already exploring the purchase of the low-income family tracker from policy and partnership so that we can use it to expand our support to residents to the benefits that they are entitled to. But Mr. Mayor, I could go on listing all the work that we've already done and we're already doing, and the impact it's had, because this specialist personalised support is the best way to increase take-up of benefits. The type of advice that we're able to provide through our work and our partnerships, support with housing benefit, help with council tax support applications, death advice, casework, face-to-face budgeting, homelessness prevention. This shows why we need to go beyond simple online calculators. Don't just take my word for it. Just last week, the charity run by Martin Lewis, the famous money-saving expert, they put out research showing that online calculators were, and I quote, insufficient for the 86% of people with mental health problems who benefit from more tailored support. In this motion, the Liberal Democrats are pursuing an online and personal initiative, proposing unnecessary redesign of our service. They're neglecting the very fact that those who are most likely to require benefits are those who are elderly or are suffering of mental health problems, the two groups for whom online calculators are least appropriate. Mr. Mayor, we on this side are abundantly aware of this, and we want to deliver a service that actually works for our residents, and in doing so protects and supports those who are vulnerable who have fallen on hard times. Mr. Mayor, we will carry on doing what we've always been doing, cleaning up the mess left behind by years of austerity, ensuring that those who are in need have access to the services they require. We will carry on directly protecting and supporting our most vulnerable and disadvantaged. I would really welcome that the opposition get with the times and stop wasting opposite time and our time and advocate for policies that support those in need of benefits. Mr. Mayor, we reject this motion.
Councillor Fairclough, would you like to exercise your right to reply?
Mr. Mayor, I won't take my 2 minutes. I'm disappointed, Mr. Mayor, by the Cabinet member's response, but not at all surprised. What is slightly surprising is the administration can't decide whether they like Martin Lewis's advice or not. It's very unclear. You know, lots of waffle about the coalition. Again, that's something we've, you know, certainly in my 8 years as a councillor, something that we've faced time and time again. But it's just a way of distracting, isn't it? It's just a way of distracting from discussing the issues. So I will say again, which I think is one of the most shameful things that this administration refuses to acknowledge. When one of the last strategic themes that this council had, which was on child poverty, buried in the report, there were some statistics that whilst Merton's relative child poverty rates had declined in line with most of London and most of the UK, it had not in Mitcham and Morden. It had stayed at 4 in 10 children, 42%, a figure that has stayed the same for around the last 10 years. 10 years. I wonder if I've heard that before. Mr. Mayor, that shows that whatever the council is doing, it isn't working. And clearly, no single response, no single action is going to be suitable for everybody. But that doesn't mean that just because it was someone else's idea, you will block it. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
I will now call for a vote on the motion. All those in favour of the motion, please show. All those against? And all those not voting? The results of the Liberal Democrat motion: for the motion 23, against 27, not voting 3. The motion is lost. We now move on to fees and charges Liberal Democrat motion. I call upon Councillor Page to move the motion. You have up to 4 minutes, Councillor Page.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I propose the motion. Mr. Mayor, this council declared a cost of living emergency, and we've been speaking about it already tonight. But if that declaration was serious, then it should be reflected in the council in the fees the council charges and levies. But unfortunately, it isn't. Many of the fees and price increases presented this year impact poorest households hardest. I'm just going to go through a couple of examples, but of course, there's over 700 fees sort of being raised. But if we pick some, HMO fees are up between 16 to 18%. Fees for landlords, but they're almost certainly going to pass these on to renters, and these will be the renters in HMOs. And you know, these are which sort of demographic is most likely to be in HMOs are those most struggling with the cost of living crisis. There's things like printing fees in our libraries up between 10 and 33%. Again, you know, what sort of profile do we think use that service in our borough? Maybe those without printers at home and those not comfortable using online services and online forms. I could go on, you know, all across that 700 slot. There's increases to things like childminder training courses. Childminding is not a highly paid profession. You know, increases of 14% in those sort of fees are really going to hurt the people who make use of those services. At the same time, the council has also declared a climate emergency. But then you look at the fees, and electric vehicle permits go up 10%, trade vehicle permits for EVs up 5 to 7%. We're also supposed to be a borough of sport, but if we look at sports bookings, football pitches, cricket pitches, lacrosse pitches, rugby pitches, even mini golf are all up 5%, all above inflation. What is the strategic thinking behind these fees and charges? At OSC, we were told that the council has a record of delivering savings, but where are the savings being delivered in the charged out services that are paid for by fees? Where is the business-like council using new technology,
using new processes or procedures to make things more efficient, to reduce costs instead of simply passing it on. In a business, knowing that competition for services, business would know they wouldn't be able to just pass on all cost increases. They would look at doing things more efficiently. Instead, the Cabinet member has placed the burden on residents, has proposed a set of fees and charges that will damage the pursuit of the council's own strategy. When asked about this, the Cabinet member explained that the people who use the services should pay for them and people who don't shouldn't be asked to. But does he intend to roll this out to all our other services, libraries, council leisure centres, parks, children's social care, adult social care? Or do those, those with their own provision, should they no longer have to pay for these? It is a very strange position for someone in the Labour Party to take. Perhaps the Cabinet member has not yet got his arms around this portfolio. Mr. Mayor, these charges should be looked at again through the lens of the priorities of the Council, the cost of living crisis, and having reviewed the efficiency of the Council's own operations and processes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I have Councillor Rees to second. You have up to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So today's Labour Party, they've got a history of saying one thing, doing something else. Local Labour Party literature is being pumped out, and that's saying, I quote, politics is about choices. Yay. And we promise to keep your bills as low as we can. Actual quotes from the literature. Well, I urge these Labour councillors to take a look at the endless list of increases to council services that have been set out. My colleague, Councillor Page, incidentally not Mr. Page, as Councillor Alan Brittis, referred to him last night at the scrutiny meeting, has already outlined some of the huge percentage increases in charges. We've got a consumer price index plus 1% proposed to fees and charges to apparently save £500,000 this year. Of course, higher fees could result in higher income, but could instead have the opposite effect once you consider the behavioural aspect of the increases. Anyway, we called in the decision on the basis that Cabinet, shockingly, spent a mere 3 minutes 30 seconds agreeing the increases in fees and charges, and at the same time didn't have the equality impact assessments to hand to examine how these charges could impact vulnerable residents, and they failed even to question whether all the increases were fair in that discussion. Whoa. We were told it's fair that car parking in Merton could be increased to the levels of the relatively wealthy areas of Richmond. Really? I'd be interested to know if all Merton residents think that's fair. We also asked Councillor Alan Brittis how, given this benchmarking approach, the cost of living had been considered. He claimed it had, but we haven't got any details. He said it was unfair of people using those services to, I quote, take advantage of those that don't use them. Whoa, is that a Labour councillor speaking? Sounds more like a Tory point of view to me. I'm not convinced that residents without off-street parking feel they're taking advantage of others. I don't think disabled residents who require parking services more than others are taking advantage. So it seems to me that this Labour administration is making proactive choices to drive up costs, despite claiming they're doing all they can to support residents. This all seems an appropriate time to recall Councillor Christie's previous comment that the solution to local government finance would be what? A Labour government. Meanwhile, Merton is set to lose £23.6 million grant funding from central government. A Labour government over the next 3 years. We're only one of 3 boroughs not to receive any transitional funding. So it seems under a Labour government and a Labour council, Merton has been left with a significant financial black hole, something that residents, through increased charges for services, are being forced to pay for. Councillors, I urge you to vote in favour of this motion, asking for Cabinet to review the significant increases to fees and charges from a cost of living perspective. Ultimately, this would allow the Labour councillors to practice what they preach and avoid saying one thing but doing another. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We have an amendment from the Conservative group. I call upon Councillor Austin to please move the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I formally move this amendment. Thank you.
Seconded by Councillor Holden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I formally second the Conservative amendment. The Lib Dem motion purports to be economically responsible and rightly highlights high Labour spending, a very noble aim, but it does not tell the full truth. Interestingly, they also focus on the government's surcharge on high-value homes. Now, the question has to be, how did Labour come up with such an idea? Well, I will tell you. It was first proposed by the Lib Dems in the coalition era and over the years since. So here we have a mansion tax proposed by Lib Dems and implemented by Labour. For those with similar long memories, you will also recall how the Lib Dems in this chamber suggested that so-called rich households should be asked to make extra council tax payments, like they did in the neighbouring Lib Dem Richmond Council. Or have the Libs forgotten about their previously high tax pledges? How can we be sure that Merton Libs will not do the same as neighbouring Kingston Libs, who have the highest council tax in London? So let us turn to motoring. Here again, the Libs claim to be pro-motorist, but we are currently seeing how again they act in Kingston, overzealously enforcing illegal yellow box junctions. That is the sort of behaviour we normally see from Labour. We know they do not like motoring freedoms, given they are in favour of LTNs and ULEZ, and they kept quiet when Labour proposed an overbearing scheme in Wimbledon. Luckily, that was stopped by residents and we Conservatives. On the parking fees matter, I see Labour are going after parked cars again. Unsatisfied with how much income they have extracted, they are now hiking up fees again. Leave the people alone. So the Libs, if you want to burnish your pro-motorist credentials, then you should vote for the Conservative amendment to stop Labour's paper mile tax. All that tax would do is limit freedom and make the cost of living even higher. Mr. Mayor, with the Libs, will the Libs stand with residents and vote with our sensible Conservative amendment, or will they stick true to form as just another left-wing party and vote against?
I have the following list to speak. Councillor Brittis, you have up to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We don't want to raise fees and charges, but there are many reasons why we have to. We've kept fees and charges as low as possible whilst ensuring we are complying with statutory requirements and ensuring full cost recovery. This administration is proud of the work we've done and are doing to help people with the cost of living. And we will make sure all residents can continue to benefit from better services and better value from their council. And so, Mr. Mayor, the cost of living remains our top priority. Since 2022, we've helped thousands of families struggling to make ends meet. This focus runs through everything we do, whether it's offering free swimming for under 65s or for over 65s or under 16s as part of our ambition to become a borough of sport, or providing one of the most generous council tax schemes in the country, helping 10,000 households in Merton this year, Mr. Mayor. It is quite laughable that the Liberals are attempting to push through this ill-judged motion. Have they forgotten their role as the architects of austerity, happily helping the Conservatives in the coalition government to dismantle public services? Where was their concern then? And let's not forget that the Liberals in this chamber voted against this administration's cost of living budget in 2023. Mr. Mayor, this Labour administration has done hard work to protect our communities from the legacy left by the Conservatives and their friends in the Liberal Party over there. We created a £3 million cost of living fund which helped thousands of families, providing help with bills and food, free debt advice and support for partners like Citizens Advice. We're proud to be an accredited London living wage employer thanks to Councillor Billy Hayes' work on this, and to have helped dozens of businesses gain accreditation, securing pay rises for thousands of local employees, and more than 5,300 residents have attended our 20+ cost of living events, receiving free advice on finances, benefits, and on energy saving. Mr. Mayor, even with that legacy, we've managed to keep Merton's council tax as low as possible, in part thanks to Labour freezing council tax for 6 years when I was leader. Today, It's £180 cheaper than Liberal Sutton, £280 cheaper than Liberal Richmond, £400 cheaper than Liberal Kingston, the highest council tax in London. And what does that extra £400 get you? No pop-up tips in your neighbourhood, no protection from the Freedom Pass, which a senior Liberal recently dismissed as an expensive burden. Instead, you get pricier garden waste collections and money wasted on costly consultants. So I say this to the Liberals: you cannot claim to stand with residents whilst pushing political stunts. You cannot fake concern while opposing practical help. If you have a shred of genuine regard for the people of Merton, you will show it now. Withdraw this motion, put your politics aside, and put the people of Merton first for a change.
Councillor Fairclough, you have up to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was ostensibly going to talk about the Conservative amendment, but I'll touch on Councillor Aaron Breach's comments first. I enjoyed the smirk on his face as he said the last line, which I think sums up what he had to say, really. I'm glad he brought up the London Living Wage employer, and that Merton being a London Living Wage borough. Of course, he'll recall that it was a Liberal Democrat amendment to the council's budget negotiated with Councillor Tobin Byers that paved some of the way for that. You know, these things are moving, you know, there's lots of moving parts, there's lots of reasons we get where we are, but that was certainly part of it. I also enjoyed the bringing up other councils. Of course, he'll be fully aware of the correlation between council tax and the amount of money from central government. I noticed he didn't talk about Labour Croydon, or is it Labour Croydon? I don't know these days. Hard to tell the difference between the Tories. Tory Mayor, isn't it? I apologise. Tory Mayor, but Labour Croydon that got in the mess. So I'll turn to the Tory motion, the Tory amendment, should I say. I can absolutely understand why Councillor Austin didn't speak to it. What a dog's breakfast of an amendment. We were all over the place. It was a bit of a roller coaster. I think Councillor Holden talked about the scheme that we looked at, or that was looked at. In fact, by the council, a motion was passed to look at a voluntary donation on top of council tax, like Tory-run Westminster. So I'm not really sure why that makes us a high tax party. It's also not Tory, Councillor Holden. A real dog's breakfast, and I think that's an insult to dogs. Mr. Mayor, the amendment was drafted to be voted down so they can try to play residents for fools. It's got Councillor McLean written all over it. I presume he drafted it. He's very keen to blame the Liberal Democrats for everything. Labour, on the other hand, say we're responsible for nothing. It's very clear that we live rent-free in the heads of lots of people in this chamber, which is ironic in a debate on the cost of living when rents are very, very high. The Conservative amendment is very keen to hold us responsible for all sorts of things. Well, there is one thing we're responsible for, Mr. Mayor. We're fully responsible for the fact that we have the fewest Conservative councillors on Merton Council ever sitting behind us. And we're fully responsible for him being the least, Councillor McLean that is, being the least successful Conservative leaders on Merton Council ever. And I'm quite proud of that. It's difficult to talk about the substance of the amendment. It doesn't really matter how we vote on it. The Conservatives already know what they're going to put in their leaflets. I'm quite interested to know how they'll vote on our motion if their amendment doesn't pass. Will they still vote in favour of it? You know, later tonight, we've already seen, those of us who read the agenda, they'll argue that some of those on the lowest income should pay hundreds of pounds in council tax, Mr. Mayor. That seems the worst thing to do in a cost of living crisis. So, Mr. Mayor, I would encourage councillors to reject the amendment and vote for our motion. Thank you.
As there are no further speakers on this motion, Councillor Page, would you like to use your right of reply?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I'll now call for a vote on the amendment. Please raise your hands for the amendment.
Against the amendment? Not voting? For the amendment, 8. Against, 42. Not voting, 3. That amendment is lost. We now move for a vote on the motion. Can I see all those in favour of the motion to please show? And all those against the motion? And not voting? For the motion, 23. Against, 27. Not voting, 3. The motion is lost. We'll now move on to agenda number 9, Council Tax Support Scheme 26 to 27. I call upon Councillor Annan Britters to move the report. You have up to 4 minutes, Councillor Annan Britters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I beg to move this report. I am proud of this. Labour administration has protected our council tax support scheme. So it remains to this day one of the most generous in this country. It's helping 10,000 households in Merton every year. When the Conservative Liberal coalition decided to cut council tax support in 2018, local authorities, as I previously said, across the country were faced with having to deal with the consequences. The shortfall did not disappear, it simply shifted onto councils and potentially onto the very people who relied on that very support. At that time, I was leader of this council. We made a clear and deliberate choice. We refused to pass that burden on to residents who were already struggling. Instead, we protected the scheme in full. Our priority was straightforward: to ensure that people on the lowest incomes could keep more of their money and maintain their financial stability. Mr. Mayor, for more than a decade, we've upheld one of the most generous council tax support schemes in the country. Every year, it provides vital assistance to more than 10,000 households in Merton. This represents thousands of families, pensioners, disabled residents, working people who rely on this support to make ends meet. And at the time when so many households are feeling the strain of economic instability, this support has never been more important. We've been able to carry on protecting our council tax support scheme because we've managed our council finances carefully and in a business-like way. Yes, business-like, Councillor Page. Making sure that in everything we do, we're focused on delivering better services and better value for money for the people of Merton. Mr. Mayor, we remain committed to helping residents through the ongoing cost of living crisis. With wages falling to keep pace with inflation and essential costs rising, people need breathing space. They need the financial space to pay their bills, to support their families, and to maintain their well-being. Our scheme plays a crucial role in providing that space. It's also worth noting, Mr. Mayor, that our support scheme goes further than that what is offered in neighbouring Liberal-run Sutton, which provides a 95% reduction only to a Band C cap. In contrast, our scheme continues to offer 100% reduction to those on the lowest incomes, ensuring that the people who need the support most receive it. Mr. Mayor, because we are deeply care about the impact of these decisions, we undertook a full consultation with residents between October and November of last year. The response was clear. More than 75% of those who took part supported option 1, and their views matter. Our policies should reflect the needs, priorities and lived experiences of the community we serve. For these reasons, I ask Council to vote in favour of this report. This choice ensures that working age adults continue to receive meaningful support. and that our scheme remains one of the strongest in the country. It protects those on lowest incomes and reaffirms our commitment to fairness, stability and compassion in Merton. Mr. Mayor, I forward and commend. Thank you.
The report has been seconded by Councillor Fumu. You've got up to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm proud to second this report, which will help more than 10,000 households across Merton who are struggling with their family finances. The work that this administration does to support Merton residents who need it most makes me proud to be a Labour councillor. Whether it's keeping our council tax hundreds of pounds lower than our neighbours, as Councillor Lambritis previously said, previous council leader for 10 years, Kingston, which has the honour of being known as the London most expensive council, or the thousands of families we have helped through our 3 million cost of living fund and regular cost of living events. Labour-run Merton is on the side of those that are struggling. Year on year, this administration has been able to protect the pound in the pockets of local residents and support our most vulnerable residents through the cost of living crisis. As Councillor Rees said previously, politics is about choices, and I'm proud of the choices that this administration continues to make in the best interest of our local people and with the aim of delivering value for money. Despite all the cutbacks made under the previous central and coalition government, it is through consistently making the right choices that Labour-run Merton Council have been able to protect the council tax support scheme for over 10,000 households across Merton. Our strong management of council finances means that we have been able to safeguard frontline services, get good value for money, deliver more of what residents want, and protect lifelines like the council tax support scheme. This is now the 14th year that Merton Council have stepped in to ensure that no household loses eligibility for council tax support. Some will no doubt tonight, some will no doubt say it's too much. Others will say it does not go far enough. We are not here to take lectures from those who helped create the problem or from those who talk good games but struggles to deliver the same level of support elsewhere. Mr. Mayor, I'm proud of Labour Council tax support scheme in Merton. The fact that we are able to stand up for working families year after year and leave the most vulnerable members of our community out of paying council tax is no accident. It's because this Labour administration prioritizes protecting the pound in people's pockets, and providing help to those who need it. We don't just pay lip service to support local families through the cost of living crisis, but we actually do it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We have 2 amendments and we will take them in the order that they were received, starting with the Conservative amendment. This has been moved by Councillor McLean. Councillor McLean, you have up to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I begin by just commenting on how the idiocy of the economic debate we've had so far tonight. Neither of the left-wing parties in front of me can face the fiscal crisis this nation is now embarking upon. They pat themselves on the back for the Labour patting themselves on the back for spending other people's money. The Liberal Democrats also always asking for more. I tell you how you get people off poverty. You create jobs. And all the policies that we've seen from the Labour Party since entering government is killing the job market. And they are being supported by the Liberal Democrats in the House of Commons and in the House of Lords. And what is the price? 5 peers. That's right, 5 new Lords, and that's all it takes for a Lib Dem to support Labour. That is the fact. And I will comment on the very nasty speech we heard from the Leader of Opposition. Once again, he has demonstrated that he is not fit to lead. Mr. Mayor, our amendment simply is asking, as we have consistently done, that we embark on looking for a council tax benefits scheme that is bespoke to this council. That is nothing new. That is what most councils across the United Kingdom are doing. This system, this council benefit system we have is expensive. We've heard it already, £226 million. What we want is a bespoke system that ensures that the most needy people do get it, one we can afford, one that is fair. That is what this amendment is asking. And if we are serious, because I don't believe the parties in front of me are, we have heard tonight and the leader of Councillor British talk about £30 million. I'll quote Kemi Badenoch, because this is all we hear. A policy without a plan is just an announcement. Yeah. And that is the type of politics you lot embark on. We're now moving away from. Where is the plans? Where are we going to put a sustainable fiscal policy in place? All we have heard is spend, spend, and spend. I move this amendment. Yeah.
I have Councillor Patterson second. You have up to 4 minutes, Councillor Patterson.
Wish to formally second the amendment. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yes. Okay. Thank you. We now move to the Liberal Democrat amendment, which has been moved by Councillor Oliver. Councillor Oliver, you have up to 4 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this amendment is the final attempt to get the administration to think creatively about our council tax support scheme. We've tried before, but every time there's been resistance to this. There are good things about our scheme, but there seems to be a complete refusal to consider that it might be improvable. One of the things we don't like about our scheme is that it's so complex. Because of this complexity, on our website, the details of the scheme are not even given. You just have to apply and then find out whether you get anything or not. This must be a disincentive to apply in the first place. One alternative scheme, amongst several, that we could look at is based on income bands. It's operated by many authorities. The example I'm going to use is Camden's. It's fully explained on the Camden website in simple and easy to understand terms. The scheme is entirely separate from universal credit, unlike our scheme, which depends on how much universal credit you get. There are some very simple basic rules. If you're not earning or not working, or you earn less than £110.80 per week, you get 100% council tax support. If you earn between £110 and £221, you get 55%. If you earn between £221 and £498, you get 35%. If you earn more than that, you don't qualify. If you have children, the percentages are higher and there are extra bands. And if you're disabled or a carer, the percentages are higher still. And there are, again, extra higher bands. That's it. So how do the two schemes compare in their generosity? Let's take a case. Imagine the case of Edward, who was working 16 hours a week at the minimum wage of £12.21 an hour. He's 24 years old, he lives on his own. In Camden, he can see immediately what he would get. His earnings are between £110 and £221, so he gets 55% council tax discount. In Merton, the calculation is based on his universal credit. Very complicated because of his earnings. He would not be entitled to the full amount. Council tax support is reduced by every 20 pence for every every extra pound of his earnings. His council tax support works out at £28.95 a month, which is a 25% reduction. So in this case, the Camden scheme gives 55% and we would give 25%. So let's not kid ourselves, we're operating the most generous scheme in the world. Let's take a more complicated case. Couple with 2 children, living in a Band D property, between them earning £48,000, spending £300 a week on childcare. In Camden, this qualifies for 15% council tax discount. Childcare costs are deducted from income. In Merton, they would get nothing. So let's not pretend our scheme is the most generous.
We should be open to carrying out some research into what other councils are offering and to see if we can make any improvements. A simplified system would also reduce admin costs. At the moment, there's a team of 19 people working on housing benefit and council tax support, and we may not need that many in future with a simpler scheme. So I leave my colleague to comment on the Conservatives' approach, but I suggest that we open the door and consider whether something simpler and more comprehensive can be offered than the sclerotic, albeit preserved, council tax scheme that we have now. Thank you.
The amendment is being seconded by Councillor Flack. Councillor Flack, you have up to 4 minutes.
Thank you. I formally second and reserve my right to speak.
Speakers, Councillor Alan Brittis, do you wish your right? You need to exercise your right now, if you wish to, because there is no further speakers. Yes.
Keep the debate short. I like it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's be absolutely clear about what the Conservative amendment would do. Right now, the poorest residents in Merton, those on the lowest incomes, receive 100% council tax support. They have pay nothing because they genuinely cannot afford to pay. The Conservative amendment would change that. It would reintroduce council tax bills for some of the poorest in our borough. And any bill at all for someone who cannot afford it is not acceptable. They're proposing this in the middle of a cost of living crisis. When food prices have soared, energy bills have rocketed, and when families are choosing over heating and eating. The Conservatives talk about a fiscal crisis. They should know they caused it. And their response, make the poorest pay council tax anyway. And Labour aren't much better. Right now, across Merton, there are pensioners in Ravensbury who qualify for support but have no idea the scheme exists. There are working families in Collier's Wood who are struggling with bills and simply don't know that they could get help. Councillor Alan Brittis can be proud of Merton's scheme, but there are more generous schemes out there, as Councillor Oliver has pointed out. And regardless, what good is a scheme if people don't know that they can claim it? Policy and Practice Missing Out 2025 report published last month found that nearly over 5,500 residents in Merton are eligible for council tax support but are not claiming it. So over 6.5 million in unclaimed support. We agree the support is vital, but that is why we need to make sure people actually know about it. Better information, clearer communication, making sure that everyone who needs support knows it's available and how to access it. That's it. No big spending commitment tonight, just asking officers to explore best practice and bring back some proposals. Labour says their scheme is generous, then help more people claim it. Why are eligible residents not claiming? Why do families give up on applications because they're too complex? And why are people falling through gaps? Tonight, we've heard Labour say that we're siding with the Tories and Tories say that we're siding with Labour. Perhaps a bold idea. We're forging our own liberal path. A path that doesn't make the poorest pay what they can't afford. A path that doesn't make a generous scheme, maintain a generous scheme while thousands miss out on it. A path focused on making sure people are actually entitled, get the help that they are entitled to. Labour keep telling us that politics is about choices. They're right. And in May, residents will make a choice. The choice between Labour complacency, maintaining a scheme while thousands miss out, and a Liberal Democrat action, making sure everybody who needs the help can actually access it. That's the choice. The Conservative approach tonight would push vulnerable families deeper into poverty. Labour's approach maintains support, but ignores that people don't know how to access it. Only the Liberal Democrat amendment focuses on actually helping more residents get the support that they're entitled to. I urge all councillors to reject Conservative cruelty, reject Labour's complacency and support our amendment. Because there are people in Merton tonight who qualify for council tax support and don't know it's available. They deserve better than what either Labour or the Conservatives are offering. Let's not let them down. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Alan Brittis, do you wish to use your right to reply? You have up to 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't take the that long. Now, a lot of people here know a lot about me, leader for 10 years, blah, 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 blah. But I'm also Greek. And what I'm reminded of the Greek philosopher and sophist Protagoras. See the way I pronounced it? Protagoras, not Protagoras. Protagoras. In 485 BC, he came out with the phrase, two sides of the same coin. You've got amendments from the Liberals and the Conservatives who were in the coalition that reduced council tax benefit by 10%, that we've put back to 100% since 2012. Two sides of the same coin. Please vote down both amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to the votes. So the first is for the Conservative amendment. Can I see all those in favour of the Conservative amendment? And all those against? Yeah. And all those not voting? For the amendment, 9. Against, 42. Not voting, 2. The amendment is lost. We now move to the Liberal Democrats amendment. Can I see all those for the amendment? Thank you. And all those against the amendment? And all those not voting? For the amendment, 25. Against, 27. Not voting, 1. The amendment is lost. We now move to the substantive motion. All those for, please show. And all those against? And all those not voting? For, 45. Against, 0. Not voting, 8. The report is carried. We now move to the next agenda item, which is agenda item number 10, Treasury Management Mid-Year Review. I call upon Councillor Alan Brittas to move the report. You have up to 4 minutes.
The report before us is called the Treasury Management Strategy Mid-Year Review and has been written in accordance with the requirements of the Chartered Institute of Public Finance and Accountancy's CIPFA for short Code of Practice on Treasury Management. I want to thank officers for their professionalism and hard work that goes into this Treasury function. Now, in asking the meeting to note and in commending the report to this chamber, I will highlight 3 areas of interest. The last one will amaze you, and please do like it. First highlight, Mr. Mayor, we've repaid a further 4 million of our loans, reducing external borrowing to £38 million. This places Merton among the lowest borrowing London boroughs and the 3rd lowest after Bromley and Wandsworth. Out of interest at the other end is Richmond on borrowings of over 100 million, Kingston on borrowings of over 275 million, and Sutton on borrowings of over 400 million. We here in Merton maintain the position of having undertaken no new borrowing, certainly since I first became leader in 2010. Second highlight, Mr. Mayor. We've allocated 10 million to our Residents Homelessness Fund to tackle homelessness in the borough, with 100% nomination rights to the properties purchased using this investment. This approach will deliver stable investment returns, reduce expenditure on temporary accommodation, and provide capital appreciation over the investment period. And finally, Mr. Mayor, that 3rd highlight, and do please like if you can, we have maintained adequate liquidity while continuing to generate investment returns through the careful placement of funds with credit-worthy counterparties. This is for you, Ms. Councillor Oliver, including lending to 6 other local authorities. In the past 2 years, our staff in the Treasury function, headed by Assad, have delivered 14 million and 13 million pounds in returns. And those councils we're lending to and how much they're borrowing from us are as follows: Trafford Council, Labour, 5 million. Leeds Council, Labour, 5 million. Dorset Council, Lib Dem, 5 million. Kingston upon Hull, Lib Dem, 5 million. Central Bedfordshire, no overall control, 5 million. Manchester Council, Labour, 5 million. Mr. Mayor, I call this chamber to like this report. Thank you.
And the report has been seconded by Councillor Garrod.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to formally second this report. Thank you.
I have the following list to speak. Councillor McLean, you have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have concerns over the loans that were just reported by Councillor Alan Brittis. There's very little in the report to understand the security aspect, the lending criteria, etc. Councillor Alan Brittis named some of the councils. Trafford Council currently seeking a loan from the government, exceptional financial support for 20 million. The Central Bedfordshire has a 32 million pound budget deficit gap. We've got the Lib Dems in Dorset, 10 million pound target for transferring services, but they also are in debt, 37 million pound budget gap. Leeds City Council, budget gap of 39.5 million, was 101 before government and other financial support. The council leader, James Lewis, said extra funding meant Leeds could turn its back on austerity. What that means is spend, 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 spend. And Kingston upon Hull Council, Lib Dem run since 22, has debt exceeds £1 billion. So we do have concerns. There is not enough information in this report, and we will not be supporting it.
Councillor Oliver, you have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I've got a few comments to make on the mid-year Treasury Management Report. I always feel that this report is a lost opportunity. I'm sure that all councillors would be interested to know how much we've invested, how much interest we're earning, the extent of our borrowing, and how much interest we're paying. But it's very difficult to find that information in this report, which is just really a compliance report. It's not written for people to read or understand. So just to take you through a few numbers in case you didn't manage to find them yourself. So what have we got in terms of assets? Government bonds, 95 million, bank accounts, 80 million, money market funds, 43 million, local authorities at the beginning of the year, none, now 15 million, and property funds, 10 million. Total at the beginning of the year, 228 million, and now at the end of September, 225 million. So that would be interesting, but so much more interesting if you could have said, well, we earn this on these ones, then this is how our income is made up. I think there's a real lost opportunity here to create an interesting report that would engage councillors rather than an almost impenetrable report that we get at the moment. It's particularly difficult trying to understand how much the council owes. If you look at the report, it looks like we owe £200 million, but of course we don't. What we actually owe is £37.5 million. in long-term loans, and about £26 million in leases and PFI liabilities. It's nowhere in the report does it make that clear. It doesn't tell us what interest rates we're paying. It doesn't tell us any of that stuff. So I'm not saying that the finance function are doing a bad job. On the contrary, I think they're doing a very good job and managing our balances well. But why don't they adopt the active marketing strategy of the administration and proclaim what they're doing in a report that is readable and interesting? So.
Councillor Alan Brittas, do you want to use your right to reply?
My report and urge people to like the report.
Agreed. Not agreed. Okay, so can I say all those in favour of the report to please show? And all those against? And not voting? For the report, 44, against 7, not voting 1. The Treasury report is carried. We now move on to agenda item number 11, designation of monitoring office role. Councillor Alan Brittas, to move the report, you have up to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and people will be pleased to know I won't take up all 4 minutes, and this will be very, very non-party, very collegiate, very soft focus. So, Mr. Mayor, founded and hosted by Merton in 2011 when I was leader, the South London Legal Partnership is the in-house legal service for the London boroughs of Richmond, Sutton, Kingston, Wandsworth, and of course Merton. The South London Legal Partnership is a high-performing in-house shared legal service which plays an essential part in the achievement of the priorities and objectives of our 5 local authorities for the benefit of their communities. The partnership has approximately over 100 staff and an annual turnover of £13 million. Now, over 1 million people are represented by the constituent councils. Operating at scale has enabled it to recruit and retain excellent staff and to provide consistently high standard of service to our 5 boroughs. Mr. Mayor, you'll be aware that the SLLP recently underwent an external review that proposed splitting of the 2 roles of Managing Director of the shared service itself and the Monitoring Officer of Merton. This was agreed by all the partner boroughs engaged in this trailblazing legal entity. This was followed up last week by a meeting of Merton's Appointments Committee, where the appointment was agreed of Sharon Evans as Merton's interim monitoring officer. Sharon has been serving as Deputy Monitoring Officer since joining us last spring. Mr. Mayor, as our Constitution has designated the Managing Director role as the Monitoring Officer, full Council tonight needs to approve the redesignation of the Monitoring Officer role to the Director of Governance and Civic Services, the role that Sharon currently occupies on a fixed-term basis. This will allow Sharon to take up the appointment. Mr. Mayor, we're also asking Council to delegate authority to officers to tidy up our Constitution to ensure that this is applied consistently. In concluding, I would like to welcome Sharon to the role as Merton's monitoring officer. It's a big responsibility, especially as we come up to borough elections this May. I also want to place on the record the thanks of full council to our previous monitoring officer, John Scarborough, for his service to the borough. I urge this chamber, Mr. Mayor, to agree this report so Sharon can be our monitoring officer with effect from 8th of February. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
This report is being seconded by Councillor Garrod.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would also like to echo the comments of Councillor Alan Brittas to give a vote of confidence, a vote of thanks to John Scarborough for his work and his dedication to the borough. Obviously, when John started, he told us all he was a local boy who grew up, I think, in Graveney Ward, and has steered this council through constitutional change, as well as being Managing Director of the South London Legal Partnership. So I'd like to place on record our thanks for his work, his dedication to this borough, and of course welcome Sharon to the role. Thank you.
Is the report agreed? We move on to agenda item number 12, changes to membership of committees and related matters. Councillor Bim to move the report.
This report.
Councillor Garrett.
Please second this report.
Is that agreed? We move on to agenda item number 13, petitions. Councillor Garrett, please move the report.
I'd like to formally move the report.
Councillor Bim.
Formally second moving the report.
Is that report agreed? We have some petitions being presented. Councillor Wilson, you have a petition to present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pleased to present this petition calling for better support for the borough's hedgehogs. We have a number of residents who are dedicated to securing their future, and I think we should do our best to support them. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, tonight I'm submitting on behalf of Councillor Mike Patterson and Frank Pocock our petition calling for the immediate introduction of Article 4 direction in Cannon Hill. We also believe it should be introduced in surrounding wards like Lower Morden and West Barnes to protect against the spread of houses of multiple occupation. I have met with the Cabinet Member for Housing and will continue to push for this much needed regulation to protect the family home and make sure that planning permission is needed. Thank you to the many residents who signed our petition and the Cannon Hill Residents Association who have supported our campaign. Mr. Mayor, we understand the need for housing, but we must also ensure the residents are consulted and building works are completed to a high standard. This is good for tenants and neighbours alike.
Is that agreed? We now move. We now move on to the last item on the agenda, acquisition of 146 homes at the former Mitcham Gasworks site to provide new council homes at social rent. As members are aware, we do have a confidential appendix before we begin. Does anyone wish to refer to any information within that appendix? Great, thank you. We can have this all in public session. So, Councillor Judge, to move the report, you have up to 4 minutes.
Council is asked to approve the allocation of £60 million to the Capital Programme as part of the Mitcham Gasworks redevelopment for the acquisition of 146 new council homes. Mr. Mayor, affordable and sustainable homes are a key priority for the council. There is a significant shortage of affordable housing in London, and this is particularly acute in Merton. The national housing crisis has been a long time developing. The main reason is simply this: as a country, we have not built enough homes for a long time. History teaches that this country only builds enough homes when local councils take the lead. In fact, the last time Britain achieved its national house building targets was in the late 1970s. It is well known that Mrs. Thatcher was opposed to local councils building homes. She thought it was wrong in principle that councils shouldn't interfere in the housing market, which in her view should be left to private enterprise. In so doing, she overturned a century of Conservative support for house building. She accompanied her stance with a sale of public assets and used the receipts for national revenue purposes. The long-term results have been dire. More than 2 million council homes have been sold and not replaced. In Merton, we now have 10,500 on our housing waiting lists and 750 families in temporary accommodation, a 260% increase since 2020. Although in terms of numbers, Merton's problems are less than most London boroughs, we have a moral and political duty to act to build social housing. The upshot of the low numbers of houses being built is that home ownership is falling overall, and in particular amongst young people who simply cannot afford the cost of buying their own home. The average house price in Merton in April 25 was £622,000, an 11% increase from 2022. The corollary in the private rented sector is that rents are now at unaffordable levels for most families and young people. In terms of private sector housing, despite our best efforts to support planning proposals for designs of quality, the building starts we want to see are not happening, whether in Merton or across London and the South East. The reasons are complex. Following Brexit, the building workforce contracted, many small building firms became insolvent at the time of COVID, and employment costs of remaining building workers have gone up. The cost of building materials are also considerably inflated. As a consequence, property developers are hoarding planning permissions and not building them out, and we are faced with a lack of new builds and a lack of social housing. It is time for the council to intervene to ensure developments go ahead and provide new council housing at the same time. We approached Berkeley Homes, a developer of high quality homes, and proposed a partnership to start the development, but now has full planning permission and dedicate the first 146 homes to be built as social housing. This report builds on one of the principles of our cabinet report of last November, in which the council set out its ambition to increase the delivery of affordable housing, utilising a variety of delivery mechanisms, notably the acquisition of properties from the private new build sale market, whether as Section 106 or as additional affordable housing provision to be taken into the council stockholding. The purchase is supported and part funded by the GLA. It is also part funded by this council. Of course, there is a cost, and there will be a cost in future, but we believe it is the right thing to do. And I pay tribute to the officers who have negotiated these arrangements.
I've got Councillor Christie to second the report. Councillor Christie, you have up to 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When this administration came into power, we pledged to deliver a Merton that worked better for the people who lived here, one where critical challenges such as the local housing crisis were taken completely seriously so that we could build a better Merton together. We know how hard residents are having to work to be able to afford rent, bills, food, or just to be able to live a decent life, which is why we committed to building a sustainable future, to create a borough where residents could live in good quality housing, a place where there would be new developments delivering affordability for those who need it. And because of this, Mr. Mayor, I'm proud to be able to second this report, which will result in Merton Council purchasing nearly 150 new council homes at the Mitcham Gasworks site in my ward, helping us to deliver on our pledge to build the first new council homes in Merton in a generation. All of these homes will be for social rent, good quality and energy efficient. Crucially, Merton will once again become a social landlord, and in doing so, we'll be taking a huge step towards fulfilling our obligation to those residents on our housing register. Let us not forget that by utilising the funding that we have secured from the GLA to deliver these homes, we are ensuring that there will be new homes on this site at all. The private development had stalled, with the developers struggling to make the scheme profitable given the headwinds in the housing market. But thanks to the efforts of Merton Council, our officers, with the leadership of Councillor Garrod and the Cabinet Member for Housing, Councillor Judge, we will be buying nearly a quarter of the homes from the scheme. It is Merton Labour which is saving house building in this borough. We're bringing hundreds of new homes to Mitcham, welcoming a new cohort of residents to that vibrant, exciting, ambitious part of our borough. And through our revitalisation of this scheme, work on this site will actually start sooner than expected. So residents will be able to access social housing even quicker than would have been possible before. Mr. Mayor, with Labour in power in Merton, we will always put our residents first. Over the past few months, we've announced £30 million for the regeneration of Morden. We've broken ground on new council homes at Farm Road, and we've held rogue landlords to account, standing up for tenants. Those who live in our borough can be assured that this administration will continue to build a Merton that they can be proud to call home. Thank you.
After following list to speak, Councillor McLean, you have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to really acknowledge the hard work of the officers. I was present yesterday actually at the OSC. The presentation was excellent, and so Jeremy Smalley, the executive director, and his team have done a great job. That said, I think this is a bit of a lazy policy in the sense that you're just buying homes, expensive homes, rather than trying to spread the locality out. I appreciate we need homes. Of course, I understand that. But I would also need, and I have not been given any guarantee, that these homes would be for Merton residents. That is also something that we would absolutely like to see. So I appreciate the work that the office has done, but we won't be supporting tonight.
Can I have quiet, please? Councillor Willis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How fascinating. In the last full council, that only the Lib Dems have tabled motions. This genuinely could be your last chance to offer the voters of Merton something, anything. Instead, we are already setting the agenda, and you haven't even noticed. You were going to build 400 homes, then it dropped to 93, then 75. Add the construction cost to the 2 million spent on Moranton. You would be hard pressed to find 75 more expensive homes anywhere, especially since we already own the land. We don't need the exempt appendix to see that buying new homes is better value for our residents. We were correct when we said it was more expensive to build than to buy, by about half in this case. The council has over 10,000 households on the waiting list, up 900 in the 5 years since we voted for Elm Nursery, Farm Road and Riley Gardens to have planning permission. Even if Merton had built 1,000 homes like Haringey, it would still only be standing still. But you've built none. Thatcher would have loved it. At the same time, your temporary accommodation list went up 260%, and that eroded any interest you've earned from sitting on the money. Fun fact, this council would actually be in surplus had it been housing those people in its own accommodation and able to claim the full cost. For those who this full council is their last, ask yourselves why you have been left with nothing to show for your 4 years, but trying to squeeze a load of promises into 4 months. Why every effort is made in this paper to now say the purchased homes count toward the 400 that you never built. Why this paper is a bid for funding that has been available since 2021. And thank you for the officers for finding it. We wish the best to those councillors leaving Merton in May on their next endeavour. If you are to return, we will hopefully see an administration which can ask voters to back them on their delivery, not photo ops. Yes, we saw your groundbreaking leader. We just would have been sure to take spades and not shovels. Delivering 0 homes in 4 years can only be described as failure. Taking action to purchase 146 approved homes at a key site in Mitcham, which I voted for, that we can and will support. A resident cares not if council owns the freehold or a 999-year lease. They just want a roof over their head. And for some unconscionable reason, this Merton Labour administration have decided for that to be delivered in the next administration rather than this one. Perhaps I'll see some of you there.
Is the report agreed? Can I see all in favour? Oh, sorry, you've got all those in favour, please show. So, yeah, do you want to write a reply? Sorry, I think we're right on the guillotine. So, yeah, can I see all those in favour to please show? And those against? All those not voting? In favour 45, against 7, not voting 1. The report is agreed. And that concludes the business of council for tonight.